Hey all, Chris Parry from Equity Guru again. Look, I had a request on social to go into the latest AMPD Ventures news release and flush it out a little bit so as that people understand what it is they're actually looking at. There's been some, I guess, conjecture that the companies should make more noise about what it's actually doing out there in the world than just putting out news releases with a little bit of tech speak. So the most recent AMP Ventures news involves a company called Metastage becoming a minority equity stakeholder in their Departure Lounge volumetric capture studio. If volumetric capture makes your eyes spin because it doesn't really tell you much about what it is, think virtual reality where you can move around the space of something you've captured on video. Now let me show you what I might be talking about here. So traditionally you'd put a person in a studio, you would film them in the usual sort of depth. You might throw them in a green jumpsuit with ping pong balls on it so that you can later map in some VFX. But what's never really been able to be done is to just basically spin the individual, right? Upside down, turn it over, back and forth, as fast as you want, slow as you want, and to be able to actually record somebody in a space in completion, rather than just what my camera sees, what would 1,000 other cameras around me see? And that allows me to then be depth in the space rather than just a 2D image, right? 3D is an illusion right now, but if I have all of the data of where I am in this particular space, and suddenly you can spin me around and you can, in VFX, do whatever you want with that data, now you're talking about something interesting. So I'll point you over to an Instagram post that Metastage put out. That ain't it. That's it there. So this is Grace the dog. Grace the dog is not on a turntable. Grace the dog is in a volumetric capture studio. And so what Grace is doing is just sort of being a dog, breathing and stretching, and they are able to move that image around to whatever direction they want in a relatively seamless manner. I say relatively because all of this information from 100 different cameras up and down and all around has to be stitched together. So sometimes it's a little jiggledy-piggledy. Technology is still working out, but volumetric capture is this in essence, right? And so if you were to put, let's say, I don't know, me in the middle of a volumetric capture studio and spin me around, you could do the same thing with me. You could stretch me out, you could make me 150 pounds heavier, 100 pounds lighter, do whatever you want in VFX, because you have not just my front-facing image, but you have what I look like from all angles, all parts of the studio. That's volumetric capture. So what does all this mean? Why is it interesting? Well, AMPD has a volumetric capture studio in Vancouver that it has built from scratch. It is the largest such volumetric capture studio that they are aware of in the world, and they had one competitor for this title, a company called Metastage. Now Metastage is an interesting group out of LA. They have a similar sort of volumetric capture studio. I can probably find you that really quickly. There's some people standing in front of it. Right, so it's a big old green screen with lots of lights and lots of cameras. Okay, really quite an interesting setup if you're into such things. This is kind of what it looks like here, right? So you've got basically all these little dots in the background are cameras, and you've got 100 cameras spinning right around the individual, and you can take them from any angle. So that's great. Now, if you wanted to do a music video where a person watching could stand inside the music video, could move around their favorite musical artist, and actually be a part of, let's say, a stage production, a concert, be a part of the crowd, be a part of the group, you could do this with virtual film production and volumetric capture. This is the way movies are headed. There's already a lot of experiments going on in terms of delivering sports with volumetric capture. So you could be standing on an NBA court while the game is going on around you, throw on your VR glasses, and you could be underneath the hoop as so-and-so comes in for a big old in-your-face slam. Great stuff. And then there's movies, right? Virtual film production is a real thing right now. The Mandalorian is shot using gigantic LED screens that use video game engines as background. right? So you can create background as you go. The director can say, can we move the sun? Can we change the light? Can we pull some more trees up, put some more rocks on the ground? And it's done using a video game engine. This is increasingly how film is being created and TV is being created. Amped is in the midst of that, right? They're delivering the picks and shovels to the virtual film production studios, and they own the actual volumetric capture studio in Vancouver that is seen as the go-to for that kind of XR experience. So why is Metastage interesting? Because Metastage was Amp's competitor. Now Metastage is an actual equity stakeholder. Ampt has built something good enough that the only competition in their space has looked at them and said, I'd rather be with you than against you. I'd rather be part of your deal, and we can work together and make sure we rule the world in terms of the metaverse, in terms of volumetric capture, than to go head to head with you on a road to zero. This is a major thing. Now, there's going to be someone from Metastage is going to be on the board of directors there for the Departure Lounge for Amped. They'll be sharing some business. And I know for a fact that part of what is happening at Amped right now is they are traveling the world, not just finding people to book space in the Departure Lounge, but finding people who want a Departure Lounge, people who have big budgets, they're into massive film production, TV production, music video, advertising, and they don't want to book space in an area that is already hard to book. They want their own facility that Amped will run, and this is going to be a big part of what their business is going forward. Now, you can look at the metaverse and say, it's all bullshit. Zuckerberg went and spent $30 billion, and now he's figured out that it's nothing. You know what? Zuckerberg is the guy who put his head through the wall. Amped are the guys that are coming through that hole. All the money that was spent on the metaverse through Meta, the guy even changed the name of his company to go with the metaverse. That's how much he believed in it, but he so screwed it up. He so went the wrong direction that he spent all the money to develop it that is now being utilized by other people who haven't had to spend anything to develop. The metaverse is a real thing. It will be a real thing. It's going to take a little bit longer than Zuckerberg thought, and it's going to have to be a little bit smarter. But any company out there that wants a immersive experience, whether it's with VR goggles or not, is going to be looking at groups like Metastage and Amped to create the worlds that they want to create. Now, we're at the early stages. People are screwing it up all over the place. What they need are people who actually know what they're doing. These are the guys, right? Metastage has had over 200 projects, metaverse related and otherwise, that have gone through their facility. Amped has had so far 3, I think, but has a full schedule booked ahead. There is a lot of demand for more of these, and if these guys will be a part of everybody else's deal, they will dominate this landscape as it gets bigger and bigger. This is potentially billion-dollar industries that are looking to this group that has just suddenly got bigger. I'm glad that Metastage has taken a piece of Amped production there, because it means they ain't going to work against each other. They're going to hold the line, they're going to hold costs, they're going to make revenue, and they're going to be the go-to. If you want to be better than them, how are you going to do it? Where are you going to do it? Where is it coming from? These guys are going to start announcing deals very soon with production companies, I would say with video game engines, with software, with music companies, with advertisers. Like, it's a whole thing. If you don't actually know what Amp does, that's it in a nutshell. If you look at Amp's share price and you say, hey, but why has it been at 11 cents since the late 18th century? It's because people don't understand yet. And they're just now getting to a place where people can see the technology actually taking place and figure out what it actually is. To their detriment, Amp has not been good at explaining their story. That's why they got guys like me that are supposed to get it out there and help. But it's difficult, right? Because there's a lot of next generation technology here. There's a lot of things that, unless you're in the film industry and understand where everything's going to, you don't know what virtual movie production is. You've got to actually see it for yourself and understand that everybody who's creating content for streaming, for TV, for movies, is using virtual production right now. They're all using massive LED screens and video game engines and high-performance computing servers, which AMPD is into, to make their productions go from 9 months stretch to a 2-month stretch, to remove the need for reshoots, to be able to do your video effects in camera. This is groundbreaking, saves millions. And if you're not doing it this way, if you're doing it the old way, where you're getting a team of carpenters to build a Wild West town in Hungary and fly everyone out there to Eastern Europe, rather than just using a soundstage and an LED screen, you're a mong. You're so far from where you need to be. AMPD struggles in a lot of areas in terms of telling its story and connecting with an investor audience. It does. No question about it. But you can see what's happening here if you look just a little bit deep. If you look just a little bit behind the curtain and you see that fat green studio that is being utilized and now invested in by the guys who were first off the rank. I think it's a really good thing. I think that you're going to see things from AMPD in the next couple of months that will make you say, oh, okay now. AMPD.